Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be reading the shortest books on my physical TBR. Now, at the beginning of 2024, I did a catalog of all of my unread books and actually wrapped them all. And I found out that I own currently 188 unread physical books. Now this number might be a little higher now because I did buy some this year, but those are not counted. We're just counting my vets that have been on the TBR for prior to 2024. So that's what's included in the 188 little, roundup. So one of my goals for 2024 was to start to read through some more of my physical TBR, prioritize books that I already own. To do that, we're going to do these fun reading vlog projects, and the first of which is going to be reading the shortest books, because why not start off with some momentum? And what's easier than knocking off the shortest, easiest tasks first? So that's what we're going to do in this video. But while I was cataloging all my books at the beginning of the year, I did put them all onto a Goodreads shelf. So I have a Goodreads shelf with my full physical TBR, and I sorted it by page count, and these are the shortest books that I found. So the very shortest book that I have is Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. This is a collection of poetry by Ocean Vuong, and I think that it deals with subjects of romance, family, memory, grief, war, and melancholy. I have actually never read Ocean Vuong before. This is the only book by him that I own, but I do know that he is a queer author, and I am very interested in queer authors. I also don't read a lot of poetry, but this one just called to me, and I'm excited to read it. And it is only 89 pages according to Goodreads. In actuality, the poems end on page 85, so even shorter. The next shortest book that I own is Ring Shout by P. Deji Clark. This is a contemporary thriller, I believe. Actually, it's not contemporary. It's set in 1915. And basically, the KKK is terrorizing the world, and they have more power, I think, in this world than they do in our world. They shouldn't exist at all, but yes, it is a racial thriller, racial horror, and I've wanted to read this for such a long time, so I'm finally glad that I'm getting to it once for all. And Goodreads says 185. The story ends on 181, and then the acknowledgements and stuff are 185, so that's accurate. Then next we have Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. This is a multi-generational story, I believe, about this family who's dealing with immigration, and I think it kind of goes back in time and flips in different perspectives and timelines to tell the story of this family. And I think they're immigrating from Colombia to America, and they're kind of separated at one point between the two countries, and it's basically the story of this family. And Goodreads clocks this in at 191 pages. That's exactly how many pages my copy has as well. Next listed is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Motar. This is a sci-fi. It's a sapphic love story. I think it's involving these two agents from different sides of this war, red and blue, and this is a epistolary novel, and they write letters back and forth to each other. I've heard that this is kind of confusing, but I'm still super interested in reading it, and I've heard really good things. People love this book, so I'm very excited to finally pick this one up as well. I am a bit intimidated and worried that I'm not going to be able to understand it, but luckily it's a short book, so I can take a little more time with it if I need to and not feel like I'm just spinning my wheels doing that. Goodreads says this book is 198 pages, and that is accurate. My copy ends on page 198 as well. Perfect. And then last but not least, the fifth smallest book on my TBR is When Life Gives You Mangoes by Karen Gedden. This is a coming-of-age middle grade story. I think maybe it has magical realism in it. I think it might also be a little bit sapphic, which is cute. It follows our main character, who's 12-year-old Clara. She lives on an island that visitors call exotic, and it's kind of touristy, but then a hurricane hit and something happened to Clara's memory that made her forget everything from last summer. There's also this new girl in town, so it sounds like a little bit of mystery, a little bit of magical realism, a little bit of coming of age. It sounds super cute, and I'm very excited to read it. I'm pretty sure Kayla from Books and Lala really loves this book, which is maybe where I got the recommendation from. Goodreads clocks this at 208, but my copy is actually only 189 pages, so even shorter. So then this one is slightly longer than this one, but oh well, doesn't matter. It's still very short. All right, so these are the 5 books we'll be reading in this vlog, and let's just go ahead and get into it. Okay, last night I did start the first book for this vlog, so I'm now halfway through Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. This is an interesting book. It is so different than what I typically read. I used to read a lot more lit fic, and I think that's when I hauled this. This is following this family who is from Colombia. There's a mom, her name is Elena, Maro, who's the dad, Talia, the daughter. Talia is the youngest daughter of Elena and Maro. She lives in Colombia with her dad while her mom, Elena, and the rest of the family live in America. Talia and her dad are finally going to get to go to America and join the family, but there are some obstacles in the way. This book starts out, Talia is actually in a reform school for girls because she committed this crime that in my opinion was very justified. But anyway, she's in this reform school and she has to escape, and she has to get back to her dad in time to like leave for America. Like if she misses the flight, I think that's kind of it for her. So she's desperately trying to get back to her dad. And then we're also following like timelines that are happening in the past, kind of showing how Mauro and Elena got together, how they ended up in America, how Mauro got deported from America. So this is kind of just like a multi-generational snapshot of this family and the difficulties of being an immigrant, some of the motivations behind being an immigrant and deciding to like stay or go once they're in America. Maybe the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So far it's really well written. I'm really enjoying it. I don't really have I don't have complaints exactly. I do think that this is kind of a very large emotional topic to conquer in such a short book, so I'm not totally sure where that's gonna go. As of right now, like I can't see myself giving this a 5-star just because it's not something that I'm gonna be like obsessed with, which is what I usually rate a 5-star. But I do think it's really good. I think it probably will be a 4-star for me. Yeah, I don't know, like I'm enjoying it. I did find the audiobook from the library, so I've been listening and reading at the same time, and I think that that's been fun. Yeah, the audiobook's really good. I would recommend that too if you're interested. But yeah, it's good so far. So different than what I usually read, so it's like taking me a minute to get into it and to get used to it, but I do really like it, and I do think it's got an important story to tell, and I'm excited to finish it up hopefully tonight. And so I will be back soon with an update on this one. Hello, time for a reading update. So I did finish Infinite Country by Patricia Engel last night. Actually, I finished it this morning. Really good. I really did end up enjoying this one. I settled on a 4-star rating for this one just because like I'm worried that this is gonna be a theme in this video, but I do think it was a little bit too short to really hook its like emotional claws into me. Like I think I would have been more into it and felt more for the characters had I been able to spend more time with them, had we been able to dive into these topics a little bit deeper and create more of like a lush full world around them. I just like was feeling a little bit unsatisfied, you know, like I think a few more words, a few more pages would have done this book good. With that being said, I did really enjoy it, and I do think that this is a really good story. Basically, we're just following this family as they migrate from Colombia to the US and their trials and tribulations in doing so, how difficult it is to be an undocumented migrant into the US. At one point their family gets split up. They're living in 2 separate countries, but really they all just like long to be one interconnected family. So many things are standing in their way. So many difficult decisions have to be made. And this book really, I think, conveyed all of those themes very well and very poignantly. I do just wish there was a little bit more time spent. There's also this really weird POV switch in like the back half of this book. It switches like from a 3rd-person narrative to a 1st-person narrative. I did find that a bit strange. I thought that would have been better like incorporated earlier on. It was just a little jarring and kind of just a strange decision that the author made. Not bad, just like odd. But yeah, overall, I do think this was a really well done story. It crammed a lot into 191 pages, and I do think what it did successfully. I just think it could have been a little bit better had it been expanded a little bit more. I did get a little misty-eyed at some points, but I think that I would have like full-on weeped if I had been able to spend more time with these characters and gotten to know them better and understand their motivations and like their actions and feelings more. It was just a little bit too brief for me, which is why I gave it 4 stars. Like I did really enjoy it. I do think that it's very meaningful and very impactful, but I don't think that it's going to be super memorable because I didn't get that emotional connection with it that I think I would have had it been a little bit longer. Does that make sense? I know this is a video where I'm reading the shortest books, so I like feel weird complaining that this book was too short. Like I did enjoy that it's a quick read. I always like a quick read, but I just think it would have been more impactful, more memorable, more likely to become a favorite book had it been a little bit longer, had there been more for me to like sink my teeth into, you know? I think that makes sense. I think that's fair. Yeah, I would recommend this one if it sounds interesting. It's super quick, super easy to read, and I do think it has a lot of good things to say, and yeah, 4 stars. I can't remember if I was wearing this in the last clip. It's very possible that I was, and if I was, I'm sorry. This is just my newest softest sweatshirt at the moment, so I keep wearing it. But I have started a new book. I decided to pick up This Is How You Lose the Time War next, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I have been putting this one off for the longest time because I've been afraid that it would confuse me, because I feel like a lot of people talk about how confusing it is, but I'm really not having that experience. It definitely is a book that you kind of have to pay attention to when reading, because it is set in this futuristic, multi-dimensional fantasy world kind of, and you're thrown in and just kind of expected to pick it up as you go. There's not a big like world building section. You're just thrown straight into the action, straight into the story. But I like that. I don't have an issue with that. It's just been kind of a book where you have to pay attention to detail, but it's really, I would not say confusing. So I think it's been a little bit misconstrued to me. If you also are intimidated by this book and reviews of this book, I would say you're okay. Just go into it like paying attention. It's not like a different language or like written in old world English or like anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty bare bones, like few words to create a bigger picture, but it really, I would not say is confusing. Like, I don't think you're gonna not know what's going on, which is what I was afraid of. So I'm pleasantly surprised that I'm having such a good time with this book. Not that I thought I would dislike it, but you know, I thought I would find it difficult to comprehend, but I'm not. So it's great. I am halfway through at this point. If you didn't know, this book is basically following these two women, Red and Blue, who are operatives on different sides of this like multi-dimensional futuristic war. They kind of start corresponding. Initially, they're like kind of taunting each other, but then they're writing letters back and forth to one another in like these secret ways, and these letters kind of evolve over the years, over the course of like many missions, to be almost like romantic in nature, to be friendly and supportive of one another. And there's this like growing kind of attraction to one another because they're both like the best at what they do and no one else really like challenges them like the other person does, and so they form this correspondence, this relationship. But it's very like Romeo and Juliet. They're on opposite sides of this war. They're like directly competing against one another to win this war. So there's this element of like a forbidden romance happening as well. It's very secretive, no one knows. They worry about getting caught, those kinds of things. So it does feel pretty like high stakes and also very like romantic. I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. It is a very unique book. Unlike anything I've ever read, it is like quick to get through because like I said, it's not very wordy, but I feel like it's really impactful so far. Like I almost feel like I'm eating my words from my last update, like, oh, all of these books are like not going to be as impactful as I want them to be because they're too short. But I feel the opposite with this one. Like I feel like this one actually is perfect for this format. Like it is conveying the story in the way that it wants to, and it's doing so successfully, and like a lot is happening. There's a lot of depth to it, so I feel like it is true, and that's why, oh, my hair is making my sweatshirt wet, but definitely is a depth to it. There is emotional depth. There's like the story like feels rich and engaging and action-packed and exciting and meaningful, and there's a lot of good like character development and insight into the world that's happening, but it doesn't need a lot of words to do that. Like it's very impressive what these authors are accomplishing with the few words that they're putting on the page, if that makes sense. And that's what like short literature I feel like is all about. So I'm very excited that I picked this one up in this video and I'm finally reading it, and I can't wait to see it through to the end. I'm afraid it's gonna be a brutal sad ending. I don't want it to be, but we'll see. That's one of the reasons why I like reading romance so much, is like I know the ending is gonna be happy, and I think I was starting to become disillusioned with like lit fic and different things that had sad endings, because I'm like, what is the point of reading this? It's just gonna make me depressed. So hopefully this won't, but we'll see. Once I finish it, I will be back with an update. Well, it's been a while since I updated this vlog, and hopefully I can have coherent thoughts because it has been a while since I have read these books, I'm gonna be honest with you. But since we last spoke, I did finish This Is How You Lose the Time War by Mala Al-Motar and Max Gladstone, and I fucking love this book. I feel like this book just shattered everything I said about the first book that I read in this vlog, because this was incredible. Like it did not need any longer to be amazing. I do kind of wish it was longer so I could have spent more time with these characters, but I feel like the story it was trying to tell was conveyed perfectly in the pages that it was allotted. And I'm so glad that I read this physically and didn't try and listen to the audiobook, because I do feel like I personally would have been confused by the audiobook. Although reading it physically, it was not hard to follow. I did really like the epistolary format. I love how these two were just like drawn to one another. I thought it was so beautifully written. I loved the story, so obsessed. Such a cool like unique, sapphic, time travel love story. Like, I loved it. I was obsessed. I gave this 5 stars. It was incredible, and this is why I keep coming back to short books, and I do pick them up often, because there are these gems that are just like, it's so impressive that such an immaculate, descriptive, wonderful, emotion-filled story can be told in so few words, and I just love it. It was such a good time. It was so much fun, and it was just beautiful. I loved it so much. This one's 5 stars for me. Okay, and I also am 50% of the way through Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. This is interesting so far. It is basically a futuristic story. We're following our main character, Maris, who is like a clan fighter. This is set in like a futuristic world in which it's kind of like a what is it called? I can't think of the word, but basically it's a horror reimagining of the Ku Klux Klan, and if they gained incredible power, and basically this like alien race has taken advantage of the Klan to infiltrate Earth and create these monsters that are called Ku Kluxes, and our main character is hunting them. And basically it is just, why can't I not think of the word I'm trying to think of? Speculative. It's speculative. That's the word I'm trying to think of. Speculative futuristic horror. And it's very interesting. It definitely is like racial in nature. Our main characters are badasses who fight and kill these Ku Kluxes, and that's their like mission and purpose in life. 50% of the way through. Like, it's good so far. It's exciting. It's interesting. There's lots of action. Characters are cool. It's definitely like horror, like in that it's gory and freaky and just crazy, and it's really interesting, like, because it's almost taking this more like sci-fi turn than I was expecting. I really was, I think, expecting more realism in the horror, but I do think that it's like a parable, like an analogy, and I think I will get more into that as I continue reading. So I'm interested to see like where it's going to end up. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I did start like listening to the audio while I was reading it, and I do like the audio. It is narrated by somebody famous who does a lot of audiobooks that I have listened to before and really loved. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's really good, and I'm excited to continue reading this one. So I will let you know once I finish my final thoughts. Okay, I just finished Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. I really liked this one. Another success in this vlog. I'm very happy about that. I think I'm gonna end up giving this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it, especially the second half was like very exciting, very fast paced, a lot of things happening, and we kind of got like the depth that I think I was looking for in the first half, with like connecting it to these larger themes of racism, how our main character Maris is like carrying all this hate and fear and trauma within her from racism, and like the fear, hate, and trauma that's been passed down through her people, and also these themes of like not creating more hate in the world and not letting this hate fuel her, but this like need for justice, which I thought was a really interesting message, and I really enjoyed that. Don't worry, we're still like going out and vigilante style taking care of the KKK, like that's still a part of the justice, which I was happy about. So yeah, I don't know, it was really well done. It does have a lot of like gore and body horror in it, which isn't my favorite thing in the world. I'm just not really a big horror reader, and I'm kind of squeamish, so I don't love that stuff, but it was like really well done, I guess, if you like that kind of thing, you know? So yeah, I think that this was really well written. I think it was really well done. I really like all of like the messaging in it. The audiobook was also excellent. I really loved the narrator. I thought she added so much to the story and gave it a lot of like life and interest, and I really liked a lot about it. I do think that it's not a full 5-star, one, just because it's like not my personal and perfect book, and also I do think that it could have been longer and some of these themes could have been explored in more depth, and it would have been a little bit stronger. But I think for being a short story, it packed a lot into it. I loved the speculative elements. I did enjoy like how everything ended and wrapped up. There were some emotional bits in it. Yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot, and I'm very happy that I finally read it. So yay, another success from this vlog. Hello, updates for you. So I actually have 2 updates, but let's talk about this one first. This is Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. This is a poetry collection. I'm sure I talked about it in my intro, but just as a little reminder for both you and mostly for me. This is a poetry collection. It's Ocean Vuong's first full-length collection, and it talks about really big subjects like romance, family, memory, grief, war, melancholy. I did read this whole thing in one sitting. It's very short. This one is the shortest in this video. It is only 85 pages, and it's poems, so it's pretty quick, easy to get through. I actually loved this. I thought it was so beautiful. I did include some tabs on my favorite lines, favorite poems. There were some that were just really beautiful, very emotional, very touching. I love the like queer themes in this book as well, and the relationship with family and like the immigrant experience. Ocean Vuong is from Vietnam, so a lot of the poems about like war and memory touch on the Vietnam War and its impact on the Vietnamese people and the Vietnamese people that have come to America. There was a lot of good in this book and I really loved it. I think I'm really gonna give it 5 stars. Like, it was wonderful, amazing. I can't think of anything that I would have changed about it to make it better. Ocean Vuong is a very talented author and poet, writer, and just the way he chooses words and arranges words and like the way he puts things together, you sit there and think like, how could you think of these like random words to put together that also just perfectly encapsulate the human experience? Like, it's very impressive. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this one. And I don't read poetry a lot, so I don't know if I'm the best person to like talk about poetry, but I really loved it. It was really beautiful. Would 100% recommend. Then this morning I also started our last book for the vlog, When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton. This is a middle grade book. We're following our main character, Clara. Clara lives on this island where everyone knows each other's business. It's a very small town vibe, but then this new girl comes to town. Her name is Rudy, and Clara's not really sure about Rudy at first, but Clara's also going through a hard time, and her friends really aren't being that supportive of her going through this hard time. And this hard time is that it's kind of been suggested that she had some kind of accident involving surfing or the ocean, which is 2 things she loved previously, but she hasn't been near the ocean or on a surfboard since last summer, and she actually cannot remember what happened last summer. So I'm assuming it's some kind of memory erasure due to trauma. No one is really sure what to do with Clara, how to help Clara, and Clara is very like equal parts frustrated by this and like acting out against this. But it's kind of helping that Rudy is the new girl in town and she's determined to befriend Clara, even though Clara is a little bit prickly at first, and Clara eventually gives in and starts to have these adventures and play dates with Rudy. And that's kind of where we are in the book right now. I'm halfway through. I'm on page 96 and I'm really enjoying it so far. It is definitely written. Sometimes you read middle grade and it feels like it is written to have a wider appeal and to be appealing to both adults and children. This book feels like it's written to kids, which honestly I appreciate. Like, I think that's a good thing for a middle grade to be. It definitely feels true to Clara being 12. Like, I can hear her voice and it seems like that of a 12-year-old and not like that of an adult, which I do appreciate. And I also like how Clara is, like, I can see that Clara is dealing with all of these like complex, intense emotions, but the way that the book is written, she doesn't really have the words to express these complex, scary, crazy emotions. So I don't know, I like how it's being handled so far. I like Clara as a character. I'm very interested to see like what exactly happened last summer and how that ties into what's going on in her life currently. Hopefully I'm excited to see her grow and to form better connections with her family and her friends and her community. Yeah, I'm really liking it so far. It's really beautifully written. It's really a lot of fun. It's very like fun and whimsical, and reading it just kind of makes you feel like a kid again, or at least makes me feel like a kid again. So I really am very much enjoying this one and I can't wait to finish it. And once I do, I will let you know and then we'll wrap up this video. I can't believe we're almost done. So yes, that's the plan. I'm probably gonna finish this tonight. Hello, I did finish When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton, and I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was such a good middle grade story. It was so adorable, it was written so well, and it really dealt with some deeper topics that kids deal with or could deal with in a very like compassionate and well thought out, well done way. I really appreciated everything about the story. I thought it was beautifully told, I thought it was very atmospheric, and I just really had a great time with it, and I'm very glad I finally picked this one up. It was definitely amazing, would recommend. Such a good story about friendship and family and overcoming difficult things. Really loved it. Would really recommend. I think I'm going to settle on a 4-star rating for it. And with that, we have finished this video. So I have officially read all 5 of the shortest books on my physical TBR. Feels so good to check off 5 books for my physical TBR. It is just the first step though. We still have a lot to go. So the next installment in the series, I will read the longest books. But let's wrap this up really quick. So I think the first book that I finished was Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. Then I read This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal Al-Mutar. And this one I gave a full 5 stars to. I think this is my favorite of the video. And then I read Ring Shot by P. Jelly Clark, another 4-star read. Night Sky with Exit Wounds. I don't remember what I rated this one, but it's like a 4.5 5-star poetry collection. I really loved this one as well. And last but not least, When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton. I loved this one, another 4-star read. So a very successful reading vlog, nothing below 4-star. I really enjoyed all of these books, which is pretty typical. I do love a short book, and I think these all were just like good selections that I put on my TBR that I was interested in for a reason. I really expected to love all of these, so I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so glad I found a new favorite, and This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'm glad I finally picked this one up. People are not exaggerating when they say this one is definitely worth the read and so good. I really loved it, and I think it'll probably end up on my favorites of the year list. So good. All right. 5 books checked off the physical TBR, but of course we still have a long way to go. I am going to start trying to do videos like this where I read books on my physical TBR monthly. If you're interested in that, definitely subscribe. Stick around. I would love to have you. Also, liking this video and commenting down below are easy, free YouTube ways to support my channel, and I would really appreciate that. But of course, no pressure. I'm just glad you're here. If you're interested in any of these books, I also have them linked in the description. These are affiliate links, so I do earn a tiny commission if you purchase through me. No pressure, just there if you want it. Also in the description are my social media links if you're interested in following me outside of YouTube. I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you had as good a time as I did, and I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.